What happens when a self-proclaimed HOA cop pulls a gun on the wrong man? In this quiet suburban neighborhood, power, prejudice, and arrogance collided, but only one side walked away standing. Before we continue, welcome to Voices Unchained, where real stories meet real justice. Hit that like button, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. Meet Jerome Walker, a retired engineer and proud father. After decades of hard work, he bought a small ranch-style home in a quiet, well-kept suburban community, a lifelong dream. His deed clearly stated his property wasn't under HOA jurisdiction, something he double-checked the day he moved in. Jerome didn't care that he stood out. He just wanted peace. His son Mike had recently returned from military service, looking for the same: peace, routine, and the comfort of home. Mike was disciplined, quiet, and calm, the kind of man who didn't talk about what he'd seen overseas. He just helped his father fix fences, tend the horses, and breathe again after years of combat. But from the moment Mike stepped foot in that neighborhood, Jerome could feel the tension. Neighbors stared longer than they should. Conversations stopped when they walked by. And the man at the center of it all, Tom Perkins, the HOA president, never hid his disdain. Tom Perkins ran the HOA like a personal empire. He was the kind of man who measured worth by skin tone and property value. Behind his fake smiles and community standards lay arrogance and prejudice. When Jerome moved in, Tom made it clear he didn't belong, not through open words, but through constant fines, letters, and intimidation. Then came Peterson, the HOA's so-called security officer. He wasn't a cop, just a wannabe lawman in a black vest that read, HOA Cop. He drove around the neighborhood writing fake citations, taking photos of people's homes, and intimidating anyone who spoke up. Jerome caught him once near the barn window, trying to peek inside. "You have no business on my land," Jerome said firmly. Peterson smirked, just ensuring the safety of the community. His tone dripped with prejudice. Jerome replied, "You have no jurisdiction here. My property isn't under your HOA." Peterson leaned in, eyes cold. "Maybe not legally, but you and I both know you people don't belong here." That moment confirmed everything Jerome suspected. This wasn't about community rules. It was racial hostility hiding behind a badge and a clipboard. The harassment got worse. Fake fines showed up every week: grass too long, improper vehicle, even unapproved resident. Then, out of nowhere, the HOA board passed a new rule. The neighborhood was now a 55-plus community. Mike had just turned 30. Suddenly, his very presence was considered a violation. Jerome called Tom directly. "My son is a veteran. He's helping me maintain this ranch. You can't make up laws just to push us out." Tom replied smugly, "Rules are rules, Mr. Walker. If you can't comply, maybe it's time to move somewhere more fitting." Jerome held his ground, but he could tell Tom wasn't done. Peterson began following Mike's truck around. He parked near their property with binoculars. One afternoon, as Mike mowed the lawn, Peterson spat on the ground near him and drove off laughing. Jerome tried to keep his son calm. "Don't engage, Mike. They're trying to provoke you." Mike smiled faintly. "Dad, I've seen worse men in war zones. These guys, they just play tough." But Peterson saw Mike as the real threat, the strong, unshaken black man who wouldn't bow. So he pushed harder, hoping one day to break him. That day finally came. It was late afternoon. Jerome was in the garage organizing tools. Mike had just returned from the hardware store, still in his brown shirt and black trousers. The sun glinted off the hood of his car as he parked, and that's when Peterson's SUV came barreling down the dirt driveway. Tires screeched, dust rose, and Peterson jumped out wearing his tactical vest, HOA cop plastered across the front, with a handgun drawn. "Step out of the car now," he shouted. Mike didn't move. He stayed seated, eyes fixed on Peterson. Calm, calculating, no fear. Jerome's heart pounded. "Peterson, put the gun down," he yelled. Peterson barked back. "This monkey's a threat to the community. I'm detaining him under HOA authority." Jerome's voice cracked. "There's no such thing as HOA authority. What you're doing is a crime. Impersonating an officer is a felony." Peterson sneered. "Maybe not legally, but everyone knows you people cause trouble." Mike slowly opened the car door and stepped out. His tone was measured. "You don't want to do this, man." Peterson shouted, "You don't scare me, ape. I've taken down more of you than I can count." Mike tilted his head slightly, assessing. "Buddy, I've dealt with real threats. Even your hands are shaking." "Shut up," Peterson snapped, gun trembling. Jerome raised his hands, pleading, "Son, drop the gun before someone gets hurt." Peterson turned his rage toward Jerome. "Shut up, old man. Once I'm done with him, you're next." That was the breaking point. In a blur of movement, Mike closed the distance. One twist, one strike, gun disarmed, Peterson face first in the dirt, his arm locked behind his back, knee pressed firmly into his spine. Peterson gasped, "Who the hell are you?" Mike leaned down, voice like ice. "Special Forces. And you just pulled a gun on the wrong man." Jerome, hands shaking, recorded the entire scene. If you're still watching, hit that like button and subscribe. Because what happens next proves why arrogance always falls in the face of truth. Within minutes, flashing lights appeared at the end of the driveway. Real law enforcement, including two of Mike's former comrades, arrived. Peterson's gun was secured, his vest removed, and he was cuffed and trembling. Jerome handed over his video evidence and recounted every moment. The sheriff watched the footage, then turned to Peterson. "You're done. Completely done." The investigation that followed cracked the whole HOA open like an egg. Dozens of neighbors, especially people of color, came forward. They'd been fined, threatened, even harassed into selling their homes. Evidence piled up. Texts from Tom Perkins to Peterson saying, "Make the walkers move out." Bank transfers labeled as bonus security fees. Photos Peterson took of residents' homes without consent. The case reached the district attorney, and the charges were serious: impersonating law enforcement, harassment, conspiracy, and intimidation. When the verdict came, justice was swift. Tom Perkins, Peterson, and two HOA board members were convicted. The HOA was dissolved. And for the first time in years, the neighborhood was quiet, truly quiet. Weeks later, Jerome watched the sun rise over his ranch. Mike stood nearby, repairing the fence, calm as always. "You handled that like a soldier," Jerome said softly. Mike smiled. "No, Dad. I handled it like your son." Jerome nodded, proud, relieved, and thankful that calm had finally returned. Because strength isn't about aggression, it's about discipline. And justice isn't revenge, it's truth revealed. The lesson? Never let arrogance convince you that power makes you untouchable. Never let hate disguise itself as authority. And never, ever judge a man by his skin or silence. Because sometimes the quiet man you point a gun at is the one who knows exactly how to take it away. If that story moved you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life tales of power, prejudice, and redemption. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far justice travels. This is Voices Unchained, where truth always finds its voice.